How effective? I would say it has, of course, the law has, some gaps in them. I mean, you can imagine 1962, 1972. We are now in what? 2024. A lot of things have changed. All right. Now we have all kinds of, all types of firearms that we didn't used to have in those days. And the dynamics have all changed. So obviously, there's a need for us to review our law, because sometimes we have the challenge of people want to know, for example, this type of weapon as a civilian, can I possess or I cannot possess? All right. And sometimes the police that are currently in charge of the licensing will tell you that no, this one a civilian cannot use. And then someone may find out, but it's not in the law, you see, which makes it a gap. So that is one of the things that we need to look at. Now, for example, in Ghana, our law, the law that I mentioned, the Arms and Ammunition Act 1972, allows civilians to possess firearms.
Okay. In
other countries, it's not allowed. The possession of firearms is strictly the preserve of the security agencies. But when you come to Ghana, I mean, our cultural background, where we are coming from. So it's difficult to say no civilian can use weapon, because we use them in our traditional and cultural festivities. Yes. We use them in our hunting and our farming, And then others also think they need it for self-protection.
Okay.
So the law allows civilians to possess these weapons. But interestingly, Phoebe, if you want to drive a car, for example, and you want a license, what does the law say? You need to learn how to drive. You need to learn the road signs and all the regulations and all that. And this is a gun that can kill. And yet the law does not require that. The person must learn how to handle the weapon, how to shoot the weapon, learn about even the regulatory framework and all that. And even do a test, like when you go to DVLA, you write a test, and you also go and do practical test.
Yes.
You must pass before you are given the license to be able to drive. And we think it should have been the same for firearms. But currently, as the law is, that is not the requirement. All right. So we have had people who have gone through the process to acquire weapons legally, but they don't know how to use the weapon, and it's not proper. So that is one of the gaps that we see, for example, in the law. We think that there should be what we call competency certification. People must be tested. They must be taken through certain kind of training. I'm sure there are some people, even after the training, they realize that, I don't even need this gun at all. Forget about it. So that has been there. And then also, of course, as a commission, like I said, we were set up legally in 2007. Okay. And you are talking about a law that has been in existence since 1962, 72. So you see, the police has been the one doing the regulation. So they see to the licensing and all that. As a commission, we don't have any role to play when it comes to the implementation of the law, which, of course, is not right, because we are the agency mandated to control, small arms. So we should have some role to play when it comes to even the licensing, when it comes to even the importation. In our laws, we have people we call licensed arms dealers. So these licensed arms dealers, of course, have gone through a certain process. They built up what they call private magazines. It's just like a warehouse, all right? And then they go through a certain process and some requirements. They meet all of that. And then they are given authorization to import these shotguns into the country and then keep them in the private warehouse under lock and key. Okay. They can't even advertise. I'm sure you haven't seen anybody advertising that I sell guns. If anybody does that, it's a crime. Okay. So you don't even advertise. Okay. Why? Because the police is the police that will give you the permit to go and buy a weapon as a civilian. And so when you go to the police, it is the duty of the police to direct you where you can get the firearms to procure or to purchase. And then when you go, the licensed dealer is supposed to open the magazine. There are two locks actually, one for the dealer, one for the police. Just to make sure that you don't open your magazine and sell firearms to people without permit.
Okay.
All right, because we know what the gun can do. When a few young men, have powerful guns and they say they want to cause all kinds of confusion, they can do that. So the law is said that you, the dealer, must make sure that it's not easy for people to break into your magazine to steal the weapons, or you cannot just bring out the weapons and sell them to people. In that case, you become unaccountable. It means you will not account to anybody. So you open your padlock, the police will also be there to open. Then we take your permit, we see the weapon you want. If I have it, I sell it for you, I take my money. Then I lock, the dealer will lock the magazine back, the police will also lock the magazine back until another person is coming to buy with a permit. So that is how.
So without a permit, you can't purchase.
Without a permit, you cannot purchase. So these are measures that are in the law that have been put in place to make sure that government knows people who are owning firearms in the country, so they can hold them responsible and they can also be accountable. So if you have a gun and it's been licensed, the police knows that you have a gun. You understand? So that is how the law works. But like I was saying, interestingly, the commission doesn't have any role. So even in terms of the importation, all right, so these dealers, we have a few of them, or quite a number of them, they will write to the Honorable Minister for the Interior, who grants the permit for them to import a number of shotguns. It could be pump action or single barrel or double barrel or whatever. Now, because the law far outdates the commission, so like I was saying, we don't have any role to play, but we should be able to sit in here, go through applications with the technical eye that we have, and then advise the minister and say, oh, based on A, B, C, D, we recommend that you should give this person a permit to bring in this or that number. Like the Minerals Commission, that's what happens. If the companies that import explosives want to import into the country, the application will go to the Minerals Commission. They will do the vetting, go through the process and all that, and then they will do a report and do recommendation and send to the minister. And then the minister will exercise his powers, either to give the permit or not to give the permit. But currently, as we speak, the commission has no such rule, because even the law that established the commission did not give us that kind of role. You understand? So these things, bring gaps in the law, which makes the law not too effective. And so we have been advocating that the law should be reviewed, all right, to suit the current situation and also to be able to align with the dynamics of our current dispensation. Yes, so it is something that we have taken steps to do. We have already, we have a proposed bill, National Arms Bill, that is at the Ministry of the Interior. For the minister, Honorable Minister, to look at the document, endorse it. If he endorses it, or if he looks at it and he thinks that, oh, here, I don't understand. No, I don't think I agree. Maybe you need to review. We all sit down, we look at it, we review it. Then he will forward it to Cabinet for Cabinet's approval. Then from there to go to Parliament. They will also look at it, debate on it and all that, maybe make one or two changes. I mean, the normal process that we go through to be able to pass a new law. Then we'll have a new legislative framework, on small arms. For example, the penal sanction. When you have a law like a law that regulates the possession of arms that can kill, you see, now you must have a strong penal sanction that can deter people from, going behind the law to buy these weapons. So the law as it is now, in terms of the penal sanction, it's not deterrent enough. So for example, it says that you can be jailed for not more than 5 years. And you can also be fined for not more than 1,000 penalty units. The penalty unit is, I think, 12 cedis. Yeah, is 12 cities. So that is like 12,000, not beyond.
Okay.
But it doesn't give a minimum. It doesn't give a minimum. So if you are arrested with the possession of a weapon without authority, meaning you have a gun, you didn't go through the process, and so you don't have a license. Now, the judge uses his own discretion, and he can decide that go and pay 100 Ghana, or if you don't pay 100 Ghana, you go to jail for, let's say, 2 weeks. Because the law does not give him any minimum requirement. So we see that as a serious challenge or serious gap in the law that must be addressed. So in the bill that we have done, or the new law, we have tried to address that by bringing in minimal sanctions, like it is in most of the current laws. That will help us to be able to. But when you take the criminal code, or what the Criminal Offences Act, all right, for example, section 192 says that if you are arrested in possession of a gun, ammunition, explosive, whatever, without authority, it is a first-degree felony, meaning that you can be jailed for a minimum of 10 years. A minimum of 10 years. That makes it more deterrent compared to the Arms and Ammunition Act. You understand? But even in terms of the prosecution, we are not too sure. If somebody is arrested with a pistol, for example, and another person has been arrested with, let's say, 10 AK-47s, you understand? How do you deal with them? Do you say, with your 10? That will still be at the discretion of the judge. But we think that some of these things must be clearly spelled out in the law. So if you have been arrested for manufacturing a weapon, and somebody who has also been arrested for going to buy a weapon, how do we deal with the two of you? Somebody who has sat down and is actually manufacturing for people, I think his sanctions should be stiffer than. But the law does not address all these things. So there is the need for us to address all these things in the new law.
Okay.
Yeah.